Today, we're diving into a major clash of titans, a deep-seated conflict between two of the most powerful minds to ever tackle the human psyche, the psychologist Carl Jung and the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. And trust me, this isn't just some dusty academic debate. This is about the very heart of who we are and what we do with our own darkness.
So let's just get right to it with a question that hits home for, well, pretty much everyone. What do you do with your darkness? You know, those parts of yourself you'd rather not show anyone, the impulses you kind of shove down. Is your goal to understand them, to integrate them, to sort of tame them? Or do you see them as this well of untapped power, something that's meant to be unleashed? Your answer, your gut reaction, actually puts you right in the middle of this huge philosophical battle.
And this right here, this lays out the battleground perfectly. On one side, you've got Carl Jung. His goal is psychological stabilization. He's like a master cartographer of the mind, wanting to map out the entire psyche, especially the shadowy parts, so we can integrate everything into a balanced whole person. But then you have Friedrich Nietzsche. He's not interested in stabilization. He's all about philosophical overcoming. He doesn't want to map the psyche. He wants to take a sledgehammer to its old foundations and harness that raw, primal energy for something far grander.
And that really kicks off our first major theme here. You've got to understand, this is way more than just two smart guys disagreeing. It's a fundamental conflict between two completely different ways of seeing the world. The healing, clinical perspective of psychology versus the defiant, world-shattering perspective of philosophy.
Here's where we see just how differently they looked at the shadow, that term for our inner darkness. For Jung, the shadow was a puzzle. It was a repressed piece of you that if you could just figure it out, could be fit back into the whole. But for Nietzsche? Oh no, the shadow wasn't a puzzle to be solved. He saw it as a fatality, an inescapable, core part of your destiny. It's this raw, incredible force that you're supposed to harness for what he famously called the will to power, that basic drive in every living thing to grow, expand, and overcome whatever's in its way.
So that leads us to a really critical question. When we feel all messed up inside, conflicted or broken, are we actually sick or are we just weak? Let's take a look at how each of these thinkers diagnoses the problem of the modern soul.
Jung, ever the clinician, puts on his doctor's coat and gives his diagnosis. It's neurosis. He sees it as a symptom, right? The result of a painful split between the person you think you are and all that stuff bubbling up from your unconscious. The cure? Well, it's healing. It's integration. The whole idea of shadow work is basically therapy designed to stitch that split back together and make you whole again.
Nietzsche would have just torn that prescription to shreds. He doesn't see sickness at all. He sees decadence. For him, modern suffering isn't an illness. It's a cultural and even a physical decay. It's a bad conscience that we developed when society made us turn our powerful animal instincts inward against ourselves. And here's the absolute key. For Nietzsche, this is not an illness to be cured. It's a weakness to be overcome.
And that shift in thinking is just massive. The person sitting on the therapist's couch, the one trying to become whole, isn't a patient suffering from a disease. In Nietzsche's view, they're a decadent, someone who simply doesn't have the raw, vital strength to look at the chaos raging inside them and say, yes, that's me, and I affirm all of it. It totally reframes therapy from a quest for health into an admission of weakness.
Now, Nietzsche didn't just disagree with these Jungian ideas. He actively went on the attack, and he used these incredibly powerful metaphors as his weapons. Let's dig into three of his most potent rhetorical attacks. Okay, first up, we've got the famous hammer. Nietzsche once said he philosophized with a hammer, but he didn't mean he was smashing things. Think of it more like a tuning fork. He would tap on big ideas, on idols, to listen to the sound they made. He wanted to know, are they solid, full of life, or are they just hollow, empty shells?
So what happens when Nietzsche takes his hammer and taps on Jung's beautiful ideal of the integrated self? He hears a faint, hollow clink. He'd argue that this whole balanced state is really just a new, watered-down morality. It's a system designed to make our dangerous, powerful instincts safe and socially acceptable. To Nietzsche, this whole project of integration is just the herd instinct in disguise. It's born out of fear, a deep, profound fear of our own chaotic, untamable nature.
And just look at the imagery they use. It's night and day.
Jung often talks about the shadow as a dark brother, someone who's misunderstood, who needs to be befriended and welcomed back into the family. Nietzsche's vision is way, way more savage. He talks about the Dionysian beast, a beast of prey. This isn't something you can just assimilate or befriend. Its life force is its wildness. To tame it is to castrate it, to drain it of all its power. And this just drives the point home with chilling clarity. For Nietzsche, the very act of trying to befriend your inner darkness is, in itself, a confession. It's a sign of weak will, an admission that you can't stand to endure the glorious, terrifying, and destructive force of your own true nature.
So all of this brings us to the ultimate choice, the final destination of these two profoundly different paths. What are you really striving for? Is it wholeness or is it greatness?
Jung's path is what he called individuation. Think of it like a long, horizontal journey that takes your entire life. You're slowly, carefully gathering up all the lost and repressed pieces of yourself, trying to build a stable, coherent, and integrated whole. It's a patient, lifelong effort to find balance.
Nietzsche's ideal? It's the complete opposite. It's not a long, horizontal journey. It's a singular, vertical moment of explosive intensity. He calls it the great noontide. It's that instant when the sun is directly above you and your shadow becomes its shortest. It's right there under your feet. This symbolizes a total collapse of that split between ego and shadow. You don't integrate the shadow, you become so powerful you transcend the division entirely.
And this leads to their final stance on life itself. Jung offers us therapeutic reconciliation, the idea that you should make peace with your shadow to stop the suffering and find some inner harmony. Nietzsche offers something far more radical, amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. This isn't about finding peace. It's about developing a passionate, fierce love for every single moment of your existence, especially the ugliest, most painful parts, and seeing them as absolutely necessary.
Let's be crystal clear on what that means. Reconciliation is basically a passive compromise. It's a truce you make with yourself just to make the inner fighting stop. Amor fati, on the other hand, is an active, almost aggressive embrace of that very fight. It's choosing to want nothing to be different. Not in the past, not now, not ever, because every single struggle is what forged you.
So here we are, with the two endgames. Jung's process creates the individuated ego. This is a person who deeply understands their inner world, who has mapped their own darkness to create a stable, meaningful life. Nietzsche's philosophy aims for something else entirely, the sovereign individual. This is a person who doesn't just map their darkness, they harness it. They become their own source of light, their own creator of values. And so we end right back where we started, with a choice. It's a choice between two towering visions for what a human being can be. Do you seek the psychological comfort of a soul made whole? Or do you take that philosophical leap off the cliff, risking absolute chaos for the chance at greatness? The comfort of wholeness, or the danger of greatness? The choice, as always, is yours.